So I'm trying something new here. I'm going to try to record this on my phone because I think it's going to be a lot easier to edit and disseminate on my phone than it is to record it on a camera, transfer it to a computer, edit it there, and then send it out. This just seems like it's probably going to be a little bit easier. As such, the thing's at a little bit of an odd angle because the stand that I'm trying to use to hold my phone is one of those flexible neck ones, and this one is not very good, and so I can't really quite get it at a good angle to try to get me head on, so I may have to rethink how I'm shooting these videos. So I had an interesting thought today that I kind of wanted to share. For those of you who live in Atlanta, you know that the taxes are pretty high here. Sales tax is about 9%, which is pretty high. That doesn't include all the other taxes that we have to pay, including an ad valorem tax when you put the registration on your car. So when you buy the tag for your car, for the first time, you have to pay 7% of the value of the car in order to get your tag. Now, I understand that they're thinking about changing that, or maybe changing that in the future. I'm not really sure, but that's kind of ridiculous. Supposedly, a lot of that money is supposed to go into road construction. And again, if you live in Atlanta, you know that they must be doing something, anything else, other than fixing the roads with the taxes, because the roads here are not very good at all. For the most part, their idea of a road fix, to fix the road, they just take a big steel plate and sit it over the hole. So basically what you have is a speed bump in the middle of the road. Now on this one road that I drive on, there is a rather large pothole, but more like a sinkhole. I mean, it's really sizable. So big that this particular steel trap that they put over this thing doesn't cover the whole thing. So right in front of where the steel plate is a big dip in the road. So it's just this huge dip and then wham right into your tire, and it's so loud. And I was standing next to this place and I kept hearing these cars wham, wham, wham into this thing. And I was just thinking that either A, someone is not paying attention, or someone is paying too close attention to the car that's in front of them. And that made me think about something I read in a book recently. So today, actually, I finished this book. It's called Theology, A Very Short Introduction by David Ford. And one of the concepts or ideas he talks about in there is how truth is societal. And he's not talking about, in this particular context, the fact that we do filter truth and ideas and understanding through our society, through our customs that we live around, and the culture that we grow up in affects the way we view the world. Specifically, what he's talking about is how we rely on others for our truth. And what this means is basically, I'm sure you've experienced this, everyone has experienced this. I'm sure that you've got a lot of nutritional advice from your friends, especially nowadays where there's a different diet fad every week. I'm sure you've had a lot of friends tell you why this one's the best, while all the other ones are terrible, why you should eat these foods and not these foods, and they're giving you all sorts of nutritional advice. But I doubt, such as in my case, that any person who has given you nutrition advice is an actual nutritionist and has actually done any of their research. And what I mean by research is research in the lab. They have done the tests, they have looked at the enzymes through a microscope, they have recorded it, they have watched the metabolism, they've done all of that. Now, I'm not saying that they haven't read the research. I'm just saying that they specifically themselves haven't had a first-hand knowledge, visual of the things that are happening. And of course, I'm not necessarily saying that is a particularly bad thing. The point that he's trying to make here is that we have others that we have to trust, that they're providing us information that is accurate and trustworthy. This is why it's so difficult when people that we think we should be able to trust, we found out that they have lied to us or deceived us. There have been instances of scientists faking results of experiments in order to continue to get funding. In recent news, there was a company called Theranos that the person who both invented the technology and built a company around it is now up on charges of fraud. So we do have to glean information from other sources. We absolutely have to do that. But the key thing is getting it from reliable, trustworthy sources. And I'll tell you, most things on Facebook are not trustworthy or reliable. So we do have to be not only cognizant of the information we're getting, but also cognizant of the sources of the information that we're getting that information from. So this really got me thinking, and I think that there are several mistakes you can make, but I think two key ones are not paying enough attention and paying too close attention. So I think if you're not paying enough attention, you just kind of start to believe anything. If you read it on Facebook or a person shares an article, you just take it hook, line, and sinker. That must be the truth, and that just is what it is. And I don't do any further investigation. I don't think anything be outside of that or beyond that. The other part is paying too close attention. If you are so zoned in and you have such a narrow worldview that's called like myopic or myopia, and you're so zoned in on these particular single sources or this particular single source of information and wisdom, then you can swallow other people's assumptions and other people's biases unwittingly. If you're not taking a more global view or a picture of the world and of truth in general, then you can kind of get stuck into one of these two traps. You're not paying enough attention, you're just kind of letting things filter in, and you come to conclusions you don't really quite know what the source of those conclusions or those ideas or beliefs are. And the other part is paying so close attention that you don't recognize that you now have taken on the biases of other people, and you haven't had you haven't broadened your worldview enough to be able to recognize those specific biases, that there may be other ways of looking at the same thing with different views. And one thing you talked about in there is there's no such thing as an unbiased, completely objective worldview, and that's okay. But the power comes in acknowledging that, knowing that, and doing our best to kind of wade and weed through that as best we can. So anyway, that's just what kind of a thought I had today that I kind of wanted to share with you. I thought it was interesting. I may write on it at some point. For those of you who don't know, I've just recently revamped the blog at mypursuitoftruth.com. You can go there and check out some of the writings I've been doing. There's only one post up right now, but I've written a lot, and I have them scheduled to come out hopefully weekly. I actually have quite a bit of backlog now, which is a good problem. So I may have some of the posts come out multiple times a week, maybe twice a week. Anyway, so if you're liking the channel, liking the content, I have a lot more that's going to be coming in this medium, in this format. I've been doing a lot of gorging on information. I read a thing the other day, or I was watching a video actually. They were talking about how respiration is both it's inspiration and exhalation. And I thought that was an interesting thing. So I've been doing a lot of inspirations. I've been breathing in quite a bit of information, and now I'm starting to exhaling a lot of this information. And so that's kind of the respirating process. So now I should have a lot more content coming out. I have it in writing. I'm getting it out on video. So subscribe, like, leave me a comment on what you think about this. If you want to help support this channel, you can at Patreon, on Patreon, and there's also a link on My Pursuit of Truth for PayPal. You can hit donate, and that'll help continue this channel going and help me continue my mission in my pursuit of truth. So hope you liked watching. See you in the next one. Thanks.